All right, episode 34. Let's go. JJ, welcome back. Thanks for being here again, man.
Absolutely. I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, me too, for sure. And Steve, thanks for calling in today. Can you share
Hey,
the state you're calling from and just tell us a little bit about where you are in your recovery?
yeah, absolutely. So I'm Steve on YouTube at Red's Reality. I'm calling in from Kentucky. Um, Grew up in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area. I got many years clean. What I do in my recovery is I really don't keep track of every single day that I'm clean because I feel like that's keeping somebody alive inside of me that I'm not anymore. This is just what works for me and how I do it.
Right.
But now, you know, I'm in recovery and I'm working in mental health, drug and alcohol with adolescents at this point.
That's
Awesome.
awesome. I'm glad you're in a good place with
Proud of
your
you for that.
recovery now.
Yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
so we are here today to learn more about Steve's story and the journey that brought him to where he is in recovery. Before we get deep into the substance, I just want to get to know you just a little bit. What are some likes, dislikes? You are like you into sports, video games?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm putting together a little farm. I have a little bit of land. I'm picking up some animals,
Nice.
doing, yeah, doing what I need to do to make sure I survive and me and my family survive.
That's
I love
awesome.
video games. I'm kind of into Siege right now. Just found that game on Xbox.
Cool. Do you
But
have a preference on which system?
I only have Xbox. That's all I know. I'm
Yeah.
not big into technology.
Yeah, see, we're not. I don't know. I don't think JJ plays games. I don't play games usually.
Well, I used to years ago.
Yeah.
Madden. I was really big into Madden.
Yeah, see, I work nights and
Okay.
eh, so when I get home in the morning, I need to keep my mind busy as long as I'm awake. That's what helps me in recovery. That's what helps me not think about things I've, done and been through.
Right.
Yeah.
By keeping distracted with stuff, positive stuff.
You got it, man. You got
Right.
to keep a positive mentality. Keep negative people out of your life because they ain't going to do nothing but hold you back and bring you down. It's
Oh,
a
for
lot
sure.
easier said than done.
A lot of them will actually do it subconsciously, is what I've noticed the last year.
Yep. Yep. I agree with you 100%.
Right. So, Steve, can you take us back to the beginning? How old were you the first time you used a substance and what was it?
The first time I used a substance, I was 11 and it was PCP,
Oh, wow.
embalming fluid, dipped in cigarettes. Started smoking that at a very young age.
Right. And how do you remember how you felt doing that?
Man, I felt like I was in a dream world, but it took me out of myself. So I fell in love with it immediately. I didn't have to worry about, I was a big cutter when I was a younger kid. Anything I could have done to make sure I wasn't feeling myself, I wanted it.
Right. So, how old were you when you started cutting?
Well, I got put into a place called Kids Peace at age 9 for cutting. I was in there for probably, 3 months and then got taken out. Always struggle with mental health. I think it stems back to my mom and dad separated. Once that happened, my my dad, he was a piece of shit. He would every weekend tell me, "Hey boy, I'm gonna come pick you up. I'll be waiting at the window, waiting at the door." And after a couple weekends of that, it kind of took its toll on me, and I felt like nobody wanted me. If my own dad don't want me, who's gonna want me?
Right. I understand that. I had a father who was never around as well.
Wow. I'm sorry you had to go through that, man. I
Hey
mean,
man, I appreciate that.
no, because those father wounds is,
Right.
they cut deep, no pun intended. I mean, they really do.
I understand that big time.
And it's a
So,
vicious cycle because we look at our dads like, damn, if he wasn't there, I don't want to be there. I don't want to have to do the trouble of raising this kid.
was he not there because of substance?
Well, eventually, yes, he did get on pain pills, but at the beginning, man, he just wanted to run around and party.
Right. See, I for me it was a father with substance who didn't want to be there
Well,
from
yeah, it
from the
eventually got
very
to that.
beginning. So yeah,
Yep,
it's a
yep.
really tough thing when you did you ever get over that? Because for me, I was in my mid-teens when I was able to work through it by about 18, 19.
I think it probably took a little bit, but eventually I realized, listen, I need to change my life or I'm going to end up like him.
Right.
And that kind of helped me get over the whole situation, because you got to get over it. If
Yep.
not, you're going to constantly play that in your head, and it's only going to keep you sick.
Right. Right. You have to be able to work through those things for sure.
You can't make somebody love you that doesn't love you. You can't make somebody be in your life that don't want to be in your life. And you can't make somebody reach out to you that don't want to reach out to you.
Right. That's 100%. So from that first PCP use at 11, can you just take us on a short journey from that first use up until you were into addiction?
Yeah. So from that use, it kind of went from PCP to huffing gasoline, huffing dust off. And then uh, around, I guess, 12, 13 is when the Oxycontins and the pain pills started getting real big.
Yep.
Everybody's parents was getting prescribed to them, Oxycontin, methadone, morphine, whatever. So then, we started dibbling and dabbling. This guy's brother is in a wheelchair, so he gets prescribed to get good pain pills.
Yeah.
We'll all go over, hang out there. Started with the pain pills, boom, 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 boom. But eventually, these pain pills run out. People can't constantly get as many as as we want out there.
Right.
And then
Especially
one thing led
now.
to another. Oh yeah, it's totally different now.
They went from like being so unbelievably liberal about handing them out to now it's like my mother when she had cancer surgery to remove, she got her lymph nodes and part of her liver removed, and they gave her 5 oxycodone. That's it, just 5 with no
And
refill.
here I am going into emergency room, pricking my finger, putting a little blood in my piss, and they're like, "Oh man, here's 90 Rocosets or 90 Percocets," but not anymore.
Oh, for
We
like
ruined it for
kidney
you
stone?
guys. Sorry. Yeah, play it off like a kidney stone.
Wow.
It's just so funny because
The stuff people think of on for how to get it.
You never heard that one before?
Not that one, no.
Oh, that's actually one of the oldest tricks. In the
Really?
book. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I broke my ankle in a folding metal chair to get pain pills.
I've heard of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Crazy shit, man. Crazy,
Right.
crazy, crazy.
I remember one guy, literally, this was years ago, and this guy was so he wanted pain pills so bad that he had a rock, but he couldn't smash his own hand to do it himself, and everybody was all scared to do it, and it took him a good like half hour to talk me into it, and I smashed his hand with the rock.
You did it? Gee.
And I didn't want to do it, but you know what the scariest thing about that whole situation was he didn't even flinch because he was so excited about getting those pain pills. And
The mental of that is crazy.
and I was like, well, because you made me do that, I want half of these. What you
But
get?
that's what addiction does to us. We don't care. By all means, we will get that drug.
Right.
And people don't think about that when they're active addiction.
Right. When it comes to stealing, tricking the doctors, anything, you will manipulate any way that you can.
Well, this is the way I've always said it. This is what's so scary about addiction is if we can lie and cheat, we can completely convince ourselves that we can use today and not tomorrow and trick ourselves completely,
Right.
I mean, isn't that just a scary thing?
For sure.
Dude, I've heard of people be like, "Yo, I'm celebrating 5 years sobriety. I'm gonna have a drink tonight." Like, what the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean you're gonna have a drink tonight?
You're not really, that's not celebrating a positive way. You're just putting yourself back on that path.
And they probably don't even realize what they're doing. Like, oh man, that'd be terrible after 5 years.
Right? So you were in your mid-teens when your addiction started?
Yeah, I was in my mid-teens when early teens, mid-teens, man. My addiction started taking off. My mother did what she could. She put me in, group homes. I would get in trouble in school. I got in trouble at school for selling acid. I got caught actually by a good friend's mother. And, in my head, I'm like, damn, I thought I'm friends with your boy. Why are you taking me to, the principal's office?
Right.
But that's what led me into the system. And then I got into the juvenile system, and it was just straight downhill from there for me.
Right. Do you remember what some of the earlier warning signs that you had that you were starting to have an addiction were?
Yeah, I went from, playing football. I was, a very good football player. And I started not wanting to go to practice. I started focusing everything on how can I get pills tonight? What kind of party? It went from partying on the weekends to partying every single night.
And this is
And
at what, 13, 14, 15?
yeah, yep, around that age. I don't remember exactly, man. I'm pretty shot out from a lot, but it was around that age. I was still in middle school because it was probably the last couple of days of middle school. I remember the first time I experienced being dope sick. I woke up, I got on my bus to go to school, and I started sweating and feeling like shit. And I'm like, dude, what is going on right now? And
Right.
I couldn't figure out why I'm feeling like this until I started thinking about I haven't had a pill in a day and a half.
And
I think it's
what were you
withdrawal.
taking every day, usually?
Yeah, every single day it was Percocet, the fentanyl lollipops, the fentanyl patches. Methadone was a big one in my neighborhood. The big wafers. Uh, Mostly it was a Perk Fives. That's all we had,
That's a terrible
access
one,
to.
man. The methadone.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah,
That
yeah. Horrible,
withdrawal.
horrible stuff.
Oof.
So how old are you right now?
I'm gonna be 40 in June.
Okay. So you were even using the fentanyl even back when you were that young?
Yeah, I mean it's not like it is now. They had patches. They're called Dorgesic patches,
These
and
were
they
the
had the
actual the
Right.
fentanyl,
Right.
yeah.
not the street fentanyl
Yeah.
that's coming from China and
The pressed pills.
yes, totally different
Nope,
thing.
nope. Yeah, sorry, I should have explained that better, but it's completely different. It comes from, the pharmacy. It comes in patches,
Yep.
microgram patches, and
Yep.
they had these lollipops, like pain lollipops, that I have no clue why they're making pain lollipops, but we used to
They
get
quit
them too.
making those quite a while ago. I know what you're talking
Oh, did they?
about. Didn't you like you
Okay.
spin them in your mouth, right?
Yep,
Kinda.
it had the white stick on it.
Yep.
It looked like a pill on the end. Yep.
And they actually had like flavors and everything.
Grape, cherry, yep,
Yep.
all different types of flavors.
Oh yeah, I used to get those.
That's crazy. So how did that, when you got into that addiction at that young, how did that impact your relationships with the people around you and even with your family?
Well, let's start off with my friends first off. I had some really, really good friends growing up. Friends that tried to save me numerous times. I had one friend punch me in my face out front of my house because I kept using, and he was just so frustrated. He's like, "Dude, what are you doing?" Another friend, I brought something called I don't know, some kind of morphine. We didn't know what we had. I think I was 14 at the time, and I was giving them to my friends. Yo, here, here. Oh, they're Dilaudid. That's what it was, Dilaudid.
Dilly
And
bars.
yep. We weren't pretty sure about what the hell they were, but I kept feeding them to my friend because they don't kick in right away. So you think you need more. So we kept taking them.
Right?
The next morning, I got a call that he's in the hospital. He overdosed. Uh, that didn't wake me up, but it ruined every friendship I ever had. With my families, I had a good mom, great sister, good brother. But eventually, you just rip down every bridge in your life, and it's impossible to rebuild when you're in addiction.
Did
People that are in addiction that don't want help themselves, no matter what you do for them or to them, you're not going to push them to get help unless they want it themselves.
right, that's 100% true. That is for sure. And so in the
It's actually
beginning
the saddest fact about addiction. I think
that you can't, it's hard to push people into it
you
if
know
they're
that.
not ready.
Yeah, and it's so hard because you see it, you want so much for them, and especially going through addiction yourself. Yeah,
Yeah, that makes it harder
See,
when you know the pain.
yeah.
eventually, I would like to get something going together because it's one person at a time if I can help. But I would like to go where I can go to the person, help them look for the rehab or get the information they need, and kind of point them in the right direction and then send them on their way.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a need for something like that.
I love
Yep.
the fact that you're
Because,
working with juveniles. How did you end up doing that?
well, at the facility that I work, it's we take, kids as young as, 2 to 5, and then that's like the real young unit, and then we have the adolescents, and then we have
5.
adults. Yeah,
2 years
they're
old.
mostly, yeah, it's mental health there, but we also do dual diagnosis. So
Okay.
kids that are coming in, most of the time, the kids that young, it's because their parents don't want them, or they're in CPS waiting for a house, or whatever. There's 1,000 reasons. But once you get to the adult unit or adolescent unit, that's when the dual diagnosis comes in: drugs, alcohol, mental health. Because mental health and addiction go hand in hand. Most of the time, we're
absolutely. You don't. It's the word, the chicken or the egg, which came first, kind of thing.
Yep. Because in addiction, 100% of the time, we're running from something or something. You know,
Right.
we're using the drugs and alcohol to cover up whatever we don't like in our life. Rather than just fixing it, manning up, or womaning up and fixing the problem, we'll just constantly run from it, shove it under the table, hope it goes away.
Right. And I definitely want to get into that working with the kids stuff a little bit more. Um, I do want to touch on like, so you started with PCP and you just kind of switched into whatever you could get from an early age. So there wasn't really a progression for you into multiple drugs, was it? You just kind of were using whatever substances you could get.
Yeah, I was a garbage head. Whatever you gave me, I was taking. But at the beginning, it was mostly PCP and ecstasy. Those were the two that I was getting really big on at first. And then, like I said, I came across the pain pills, and then I fell in love.
Right. So what was your life like when you were at your peak addiction?
What was my life like? It
Yeah.
was a fucking mess. It was shit. It was the worst nightmare you can possibly think of. I was getting kidnapped. I was getting stabbed, shot at, uh, running the streets, no care in the world,
Care to elaborate a little about the kidnapping? That sounds really wild.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in Philadelphia, there's blocks that are owned by, pretty dangerous dudes.
Yeah.
And then on these blocks, you can buy any drug you want. They keep large amounts of drugs on these blocks. One day, me and I don't even want to call them a friend, because if you're getting high with somebody, they ain't your friend. If you're in
Right.
recovery with them, then they're your friend. But me and this dude had the bright decision to let's watch where they're hiding the drugs on the block and let's go steal it.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so we watched them put the drugs in. It was a car sitting on the end of the block, the gas tank that has the opening door. You know what I'm talking about, how you can open it.
Yep.
Your gas cap's right there.
Yep.
So that's where they were putting the drugs. It was crack cocaine. It was a lot of it. We happened to get a hold of that package, and we were running away, thought we were in the clear, when a car pulled up. 3 guys hopped out with guns and told us to get the fuck in the car. They'll shoot us right there. We didn't have much of a decision but to get in the car. So they put us in this car. They drove us to a abandoned house, took us in the abandoned house, tied us up, blindfolded us. He beat me pretty good with the gun, smashed me up pretty good. Had to get staples in my head. But they held us there, and they kept telling us they're going to kill us, they're going to kill us, they're going to kill us. Eventually, they let us go. They just let us go.
Do you think you were too much of a liability for them to actually kill you?
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure what they were thinking, but all I know is God was there, because
Right.
there's no reason I should have came out of that abandoned house. They could have easily killed me and just left me in that house, and nobody would know the difference.
Right. I mean, possibly. We never can. We don't know for sure, I guess, but there's a good chance nobody would have known. I
Yeah,
feel like there
'cause
may
at that
have
time,
been a bigger reason why they didn't there, but we
yeah,
don't know.
but truthfully, I think it's because they didn't want to draw attention to the block.
Right.
I wasn't too far off their block, and they know if 2 white kids come up dead in North Philly,
Yep. It's gonna be.
they're gonna bring attention.
Yep.
Were there anybody else that was trying to do robberies like that from like people's when they're hiding it?
All the time, man. You always see people getting shot and stabbed over shit like that, decisions like that.
Right.
It's
So it was
an
a
everyday
common thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Philadelphia does, places like Chicago, LA, all that, they get talked about a lot, but people forget how bad Philadelphia is.
And people can't even comprehend how bad it is unless they go through it.
They call it Killadelphia. I know some people actually from that area, and they call it Killadelphia for a reason.
Yep. Yep. Now it's a beautiful city, and it can be a beautiful city, but these days it's bad. Like it was bad when I was there and running the streets, but now I'm seeing the videos coming out of Kensington, and it's just crazy.
So have you been to Kensington?
That's where I ripped and run my whole addiction.
Jeez. I mean, they call that the Walking Dead for a reason. Like, they literally, like, if you ever want to see if, anybody who's watching this podcast wants to see, like, the absolute worst of addiction. I've never actually met somebody that's actually lived through that. That's incredible.
So is it like what the media and social media shows,
Or is
or
it
what's
worse?
it truly like being on the, there?
I mean, the media and social media definitely have points, but it can never justify how bad it really is. It is an open air drug market, and it's built. There's something called the blue line, the L. It runs above the head. It goes all over the city. But the first couple stops drops you off right in Kensington. And as soon as you walk off that train, you walk down some stairs, you got to step over people getting high, step over needles, step over human feces, whatever. And then as soon as you get to the bottom of the stairs, there is every single drug you could imagine.
So it's not just the media, and social media trying to point out the worst of the worst. Like that's probably not even the worst what you're seeing in the videos.
No, it's not, man. It is bad. And what happens is right near Philadelphia, all around Philadelphia is Bucks County. It's a very rich county. And all these kids got to do is hop on one bus, right up the boulevard, and they can get whatever they want. And that's what happens. A lot of the kids from them richer, the richer counties, they bring down their dirt bikes, they steal guns from their dads, whatever. And then they get their drugs and they go home.
I seen it really made me sick. This was a long time ago. I saw a video of some of those that must have been kids from that rich county you just said, where they went out there and they stepped outside their really nice car and they threw a whole bunch of money like out into the streets, and people just gathered, just like, and then people are literally just sitting there making fun of like people in misery and addiction, and
we live in a sick world. People are more worried about how many likes and views they get rather than trying to help somebody.
For sure.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. The video made me just want to put my arms around that kid's neck, It seems like we're living in a moralist society.
That's absolutely. Morals over money needs to be your motive.
Right. So before go ahead.
I lost my train of thought. Go ahead, brother.
No problem. Before we came on, we were kind of talking about I lost that friend and using multiple different things. Can you speak on what it's like to be somebody that is open to using anything they get their hands on? Because a lot of us have our drug of choice, and we might use like marijuana or, mushrooms or something. But what's it like? Because I remember watching what he went through, and it was bad. Watching him just anything they'd sell him, he was opening it and trying to shoot it up.
I mean, at the beginning, it was more of I didn't have money, so whatever somebody would offer me, I'm going to take.
Right.
And in my mind, that kind of showed me I don't have to feel myself. I don't have to be in my shoes. Mm-hmm. So any drug, any alcohol, huffing gasoline, whatever is going to take me out of my mind. And that's all I wanted at that time.
Right. Yeah, your need to get high is so great that it doesn't really even matter. Like, I remember my friend was even ordering bath salts online, just trying to do anything that he could find to shoot up.
Yep.
Did you ever get into that?
Not bath salts, but...
That stuff's disgusting.
Listen, I've shot gabapentins, I've shot Xanax, I've shot whatever you can think of.
Right. To try to get that. Did you what was your worst experience with different things like that you were trying to shoot up?
Um, worst every single thing I ever shot up was my worst experience. I didn't realize it at the time,
Right.
but now that I look back, but
Did anything cause
probably
you to have like, skin issues, infections, things of that
yeah,
nature?
it uh there was one time that I got fake dope. I didn't realize it. I don't know what the hell it was. But I got a huge infection on my arm. My veins actually swell up. I had to go to the hospital. I was on IV antibiotics for 2 weeks in the hospital.
Oh, you were inpatient for 14 days?
Yeah, yeah, yep, yep.
So that's how long it took the infection in your veins and stuff to get back to normal. Do you know what you
Well,
had?
uh, I had what is it called, Mercer or something like that?
Oh, that's bad.
MRSA?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
very
staph infection.
serious. I've never had it, but I know somebody who did, and they said that they were in incredible. Like it's one of the most painful experiences you can be in.
Yeah, it was very bad. It was it had me pissing blood. I was just dripping like pus from from where, but it
Yeah.
got into my bloodstream and it could have killed me. And
Yeah, for
and me
sure.
and my addiction, I kept telling myself, "Ah, it's gonna go away. I'll be okay." But then after about 2 days of not being able to urinate and my arms swelling up, I had to go get checked out.
Okay. So you weren't even able to go to the bathroom for 2 days?
Yeah, for the first day, it was more of just like a drip out, and I was like, "Oh man, something's going on," but I
Right.
don't care. You know what I mean? I want to get high,
Well, you
and at
think
that
it
time
might
too.
pass after one day, but
Yep, yep. But at that time, every time I stuck a needle in my arm, I was praying to God to take me out because I didn't have the guts enough to do it to myself.
Yep,
right.
So,
I've been there,
you
man.
know,
I know what you mean.
yep,
I even though I never needles were never my thing, I did it, tried it in other ways.
yep. And that's so you kind of don't really care what's going on with yourself at that time. When you're that bad in your addiction, you don't give a shit, but the pain got so unbearable. I started, having a fever constantly. I had to go to the hospital.
Right. So yeah, that's what got you to go in.
And a lot of addicts can, when you do feel hopeless, that feeling of you don't know how to live, but how does that saying go? You're too scared to die, but you don't know how to live.
Yep.
Makes sense.
You know,
It's
And listen,
definitely.
that addiction is constantly lying to you, constantly telling you you're a piece of shit, you'll never be anything, you're worthless, just kill yourself. But that's all your addiction speaking.
Yeah,
you
it's mental health struggles. You're in a weak place. You don't have strength. What was your turning point that made you go into recovery?
I can't really pinpoint it, but once I realized that, listen, this ain't the way to live, this ain't the way of life, I kind of just told myself, you got to do something better or you're going to really, really die. Once I
Right.
started getting like people in my life that loved me and cared about me again, because I went through half my life with nobody. My parents, friends, family, everybody left me. And I just continued getting high.
How
And
old
once I
were
got a
you
taste,
when you were alone?
a completely alone 15,
Okay.
completely alone, running the streets, in and out of like, I would put myself, if I didn't have nowhere to go, I would go to the ER and tell them I was suicidal. So I know they would put me in the hospital. I
well,
could detox in the hospital comfortably, wait, wait till my food stamps hit or something like that as I got older. And that was the whole life I was living. I was constantly jumping from house to house, recovery house, in and out of jail, in and out of institutions. And that's no way to live, man. That is no way to. That's not what life's about. And
Right.
nobody was there telling me that.
It's a harsh way to live for your own self, is what it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
I feel a lot of guilt. That's why I do for years now. I've been trying to do everything humanly possible to make up for what I did in my past.
So did you
Well,
go
that's
to.
why.
Go
Sorry.
ahead. You're good.
That's why. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing now, man. Because there's no way I can change the past, the piece of shit I was, the things I put people through. The only thing I can do now is try to help others see that you're going down the wrong road, before it's too late,
Right.
before you start having these problems in your life.
And that's where we are too, is you just want, with 2023 being the worst year for overdoses in history, and you feel like you're reaching people, but at the same time, you don't feel like you're reaching enough people. It's still happening so much, and it's happening to younger and younger people.
Yep. And going to war
Well,
with the FDA pretty much because they tried to downplay like how many deaths there are and everything.
we will never reach as many people as we should because we're not an influencer. We're
Right.
not on there, acting, however, that's
However,
not what they want to be pushed.
yep,
For sure.
to be really rich and famous, you got to pretty much be demonic nowadays.
Yep. And I'm okay not being rich and famous. I'm
Oh, for
okay where
sure.
I'm at in my life,
I agree with that, brother.
Yeah.
I don't. This isn't about the money or anything like that. It's about saving anybody from making the same decisions we made.
Because it holds us responsible too by doing this, because we don't want certain things to happen that are going to ruin this for us either.
No, not at all.
So it also holds you responsible as well.
Yeah, there's been many. If it wasn't for this podcast, especially now, there would have
I'm
been
not making
days
it.
where I would have thrown all of this down the drain.
Yep. And, and you can't let that beat you. You just got to keep pushing on and hope you reach one person.
Right.
Now, I don't know if you ever noticed this. Now, since May 19th of 2023 is when I found my recovery. That's when I just withdrawed and just everything. I've never worked this hard in my life with sobriety. It's unbelievable because in this last like 10 months since that, nowhere in the history of when I was using did people try to give me drugs. Now people are constantly, it's like here's some free drugs, and it's just like, dude, I can't.
That's another thing with Philly is if you go down early in the morning, you'll get all the free blue bags you want, all the heroin, because they give out samples. Every block will give samples for what the product's going to be
to
throughout
get
the
that
day.
word going.
Yep.
Like who's got the best?
Listen, we used to hear about people overdosing on like C in Somerset, and we would run to that block because we would think they had the best dope. Oh, that dude just died? That's where I'm going.
That is one very sick thing about addiction, is that right there. Running to the place that overdosed to get the best stuff out there.
Have you ever seen the show The Wire?
I have, yep.
Now, if that ain't... I mean, I don't think there's a better presentation of why, in my opinion, the war on drugs will never end.
Yep. Well, they wanted to shoot that in Philadelphia, but the mayor said no. I remember when they were talking about that.
That's what I was going to say. I'm surprised with everything that goes on in Philadelphia that they just didn't take part there instead of Maryland, Baltimore.
Yeah, well, they wanted to, but he was like, I don't want to give my city a worse name. Blah, blah, blah. Listen, your city already's got it fucked up name.
Right.
Don't worry about it now.
For sure. So, did you go to inpatient or outpatient recovery, and was it medicated or not?
I did it all, man. I went inpatient. I went outpatient. I went, medicated, not medicated, whatever you can think of. I've been through it, man.
Right. What kind of challenges were you facing then with, going through so many different things? Like, where did you finally find yourself balanced?
Well, I didn't find myself balanced going through them programs because I didn't want it myself. I was always doing it for my mom, my sisters, friends, family, just to make them happy and shut them up for a little bit. But I knew in my head every night, oh, dude, I can't wait to get out and get high. My tolerance is going to be a 1-bag tolerance now.
Right.
So I truly didn't find peace for myself until, it's weird. It was like a light switch, tell you the truth. I just woke up one day and was like, I don't want this fucking life anymore. I don't want this pain. I don't want to hope to die every day anymore. So I had to change something because nobody's coming to change it for you. If you don't take them steps yourself, yep. God is definitely the one that helps me stay clean and on the right path. And I get it. People are like, oh, people that don't believe, oh, God, where is he when I need him? Why? I used to always ask myself in my addiction, God, if you're real, why the fuck you let me go through all this crazy shit?
Yep.
But
That
it's
poor
not
me
him.
attitude. That poor me attitude. Yep.
I
Yeah,
think
all of
Or
us
them,
get that.
yep, the foxhole prayers, Lord, please get me out of this one and I'll never do it again.
I just
I've
said
been
that to
there.
Dave. What was it? I said there's no such there's it's so funny you said that, Red. There is no atheist in a foxhole.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
do you remember
You
I
know,
just
but
said
yeah,
that to you the
yeah,
other day?
yeah, I do.
God God doesn't make us go through them. He gives us choices in life. Listen, if
Free
you want to
will.
fucking keep getting high, yep, go that way. But if not, there's a church right here feeding you that are willing to help you. I never chose that path. I'll take their food from the church and then move on. Oh, you got shoes? Thank you.
Right, right.
I'm just laughing
But
because
that's
it's
the
just so true, man.
but we were actually talking about this too, the praying without making sacrifices. You're taking and taking and doing for yourself and you're praying, but you're not willing to make a sacrifice.
Yep. It's Lent too. It's Lent time. It's
Yep.
time to fast.
But now I've realized God gave me the choices. I went through all them pain and suffering and them dark days to be where I'm at today
Right.
and help other people see that ain't the way of life, man.
God gives the strongest test, or God gives his biggest test to his strongest warriors. I truly believe that with all my heart. I know
Amen.
that from
Amen.
here. I know that with all my heart.
And another thing with addiction nobody told me is I'm almost 40. I have very little skills in the real world. I'm not a bad dude. I'm a pretty good guy. You got a pretty good head on my shoulder, but nobody will take a chance on almost a 40-year-old person that don't have any skills. So now
Right.
I'm fucked. You know what I mean? I'm sitting here trying to figure things out. I have a good job at this facility, but it's not good enough if you get what I'm saying. It's not something that you can help you sustain for the rest of your life. I'm doing it for the gratitude I get out of helping people.
Right. That's what I
Bless
was
you for that, man.
talking to you about, that the substance abuse counseling, because it's only 2 years and within the first year or so you can be working. So it
Yeah,
could
that's
really
definitely
be
something
something to look into.
because people don't want to hear it from somebody that read it in a book or
Of
fucking saw
course.
it in a movie.
No.
I
Of
don't want
course.
to hear that shit. Keep it. But somebody that lived it, you can help me.
Right. That's what we've been
Yep.
really talking about too, is people want to talk more with someone that's been through it.
There was a time whenever I was in treatment or whatever, if I found out that they had no addiction background, I was like, I don't want to be around you. You don't know what this is like, and
So, well, right. How do you feel about this? This past week, my counselor said a heart surgeon doesn't need to have heart surgery to do heart surgery on somebody else, like have it on himself to do it on others. That's his point
How
of, you
fucking
don't have to
crazy
go
does that
through
sound?
addiction to
Yeah.
treat people with addiction.
it's pretty ridiculous.
Man,
That's where they come out though, because he hasn't been through it.
Just say who it is, bro.
I thought it
I
was
mean,
a
hey,
little.
Hey, what's your take on methadone clinics?
listen, I was on a methadone clinic, 120 milligrams for 2 years. I had to go and cop every single day, which the methadone only got me addicted to benzos, introduced me to benzos. Oh shit, you mix these two, bam.
Right.
I
So
think it's just fucking substituting one drug for another, okay? If it's used in short term, all to it. I use it to detox, whatever. But when you're on it for 5, 10 years, you're using a drug. It's the same thing. Nobody can have their feelings on drugs, okay?
right.
Nobody can be who they really are on these drugs.
Even on methadone, which is
Yep.
one of the tough things about methadone, is the suppression.
Yep.
And to each their own. I'm not judging. I'm just telling you my experience and my perspective on this shit. It's just, listen, I
Well, it sounds
remember when
like
crack.
though when you were in the program, it sounds like you were still looking to get high though, and not you wanting to like recover. You know what I mean? Like if you're mixing
I guess you can
benzos
say
and
that.
realizing and trying to push that high every day, where if you're on it and tapering, I think that there is a solid place for it. But yes, people that are just sitting on it for year, never ever move, yeah, they're just using it as a replacement.
Yeah. or
Well,
being on
I'm
a
speaking on
massive like yeah.
Right.
like I'm speaking on the clinics that I've been to. Okay, the clinics I've been to, they don't taper you. You go in and you start off at 40 and you go up 60, 80, 100, 120, and then you tell them where you're comfortable.
Was there a
So
cap?
I think it was no, dude, there was one person on 220. So I guess not. I'm not sure. I didn't let myself get that high. I
I know
got kicked
somebody
off the
was on
program.
240.
Yeah, up in Eau Claire,
Yep.
there was someone on 300.
Yep.
360. I
But
met somebody.
that's
360. That's
It
crazy.
enough to
doesn't
kill
even
three
make
people.
sense. Like,
No. And that's
That
what I
could
mean
kill an
by,
elephant.
bro, it's fucking nuts.
how do you
You know,
even come off of that? 300 milligram.
very slow and low, man. You got to literally bring it down micrograms. But that shit gets in your bones.
They'll say, well, no, it doesn't, to keep
Yeah.
the business going, though.
Right.
Just like we have people saying legalize fentanyl because it will help. Man, that's fucking crazy.
That's interesting. That's a good segue. How do you feel about the current state of addiction with fentanyl being so prevalent now?
I think if something don't change, we're really fucked, man. The drugs are getting harder, the kids are getting younger, and there's nothing being done about it. The same programs that I went through almost 15, 20 years ago, whatever, are the same programs that they're using today, okay? At my facility that I work, it could be me. I'm a mental health technician, but we work in drug and alcohol. It's me and sometimes one other tech with 20 kids in one room.
Right.
All we can do is put a TV on, give them
Mhm.
Kellerin books, and then a psychiatrist, I'm using air quotes, psychiatrist comes in a room and runs a group meeting. These kids are not getting the help they need.
Right. It doesn't
Is
not
he
with
putting
that
them
many
on a bunch of
people.
stimulants and shit like that?
Oh, don't get me started on Adderall. Oh man.
Yep.
Yeah, we have a same take as you, I think, then on that.
Yeah. I mean, I was
Listen,
5 years
kids.
old put on Ritalin.
Yeah, I was on Ritalin too when I was younger.
Yeah.
But we're young boys. We're energetic. Go outside and play. That's the
Right.
problem, though. Is these parents see the kids all hyper and fucking running around the house. It's because they're sitting on YouTube or video games and they have all this energy. Go
Yes.
outside, ride a bike.
Yeah. 100%.
Yep.
So, has your perspective on life changed since you've gotten sober?
Absolutely. I was a big people pleaser when I was in my addiction. I was always worried about everybody around me. And I think that's because I had to keep people in my life. So I had somewhere to stay, somewhere to rob, so, somebody to do something.
Right.
And once I got into recovery, I realized nobody was there for me at the end of the day but myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only person that's going to get me through life.
Yeah, and sometimes we have to realize that before we can grow up and get into recovery is that we are the responsible one for our own lives.
Yeah, there's nobody that's going to come and hold your hand. You got to make the decisions. And sometimes people's got to go through the shit because I did. I had to experience them days to get where I'm at now.
Right. For sure on that too. And sometimes watching others isn't enough for people to get through it. You got to live it yourself to really overcome. So, what kind of things do you notice that trigger you, and how do you handle those triggers when they pop up?
I think the biggest trigger for me is anything stressful in my life. It makes me thinking, even, almost 13 years now clean, it makes me still think, dude, because your addiction's always waiting for you. Your addiction's outside doing push-ups, getting stronger and stronger. Okay. But every time I would get stressed out or feel depressed or anxiety, my mind goes right to fucking, yo, go get high and it'll go right away. Go take a drink and you'll be fine. But whenever I get them thoughts, I do the serenity prayer in my head until they go away. I could say it 50 times in my head, but eventually it will go away.
Right. So spirituality is a big part of your recovery and healing.
Absolutely. Yep.
Did you always have religion in your life, or did it start after you were in recovery more?
No, it started when I got into recovery. I always thought maybe because my grandmom was huge in, going to church and all that. So it was always in my life, but I never paid attention to it. I always thought, there's no way there's a fucking guy up in the sky that's
Right.
looking over all of us, and I always second guessed it. I always thought there's no way possible this could be true until I started my journey on recovery. And I realized I saw things, he put things in my life, and he made me realize he kept me alive. Again, I should not fucking be alive right now. There's no way.
I I know that feeling. I almost kind of have that survivor's guilt. Actually, I don't almost. I do.
I have that for a couple situations I've been through in my life, man.
Do you want to, do either of you want to talk about what that's like to have that?
Well, yeah,
Oh,
well, there was an incident. I had a really good friend. Well, we were friends before we started getting high, but then we got started getting high together and we continued getting high. Uh, one night he wanted to go home. I kept telling him, Leo, let's stay out here. We were on I think Cecil B. Moore, or I don't remember what street it was in Kensington. And he got shot. There was a drive-by. But if I would have listened to him and just left when he wanted to leave, I always tell me in my head, damn, that would have never happened to him. Damn, that's my fault. And I lived with that today still.
Yeah, but I understand, and I'm sorry that that happened to you, but it's not actually your fault though.
and I know it sounds so easy just to say that. You know what I mean? Trust me, I know. And whatever way you can, forgive yourself. Whatever therapy you can get, man. Because I go through that same situation myself, man. It's just, it's actually too many to count.
Because you have to think, if you would have had the slightest idea anything like that was going to happen, you're going home.
Absolutely.
You're
But,
not going to risk staying out. I could see it's your fault if you had an idea it was going to happen and you're like, let's stay anyways.
no, I had no clue, but I did have a clue. There's always wars going on, fighting between blocks or people
Right.
trying to take over certain blocks.
Oh, it's
We were
everyday
just in a
thing.
bad.
So
Yep,
you're
yep,
aware of the danger.
absolutely. Do you care about it when you're in addiction? No, fuck no.
No.
All you care about is them drugs.
You put yourself in really risky high risk choice situations.
And
I
other
would have
people.
sold my mother's soul for a bag. When I was in my addiction, I would have done whatever it took to get that high.
Yeah, I agree. The things that you do, there's definitely not stuff that a clear mind will ever do. With that being said, what kind of misconceptions about recovery would you like to help people understand more that aren't true?
First off, every fucking time I sign on to TikTok, it's sobriety's boring. Da, da. That is fucking bullshit, okay? Sobriety is not boring.
Dude, I really like you, man. Dude, you are. There's no. Dude, I don't know. I don't know the best way to say this, but people are afraid to just get right to the fucking point. Just there's no. I'm tired of the sugarcoating. Kind of people. It's almost like we're trained nowadays to be sugarcoating everything.
No, fuck that. You can't sugarcoat in addiction or recovery because you're
Right.
playing with people's lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want the next person to go through what the fuck I went through.
Yeah.
Right. That's why before we started, that's why I was saying that is because I don't want to dumb it down and make people think that it's a weaker situation than it is.
This is life or
No.
death. Yeah.
Right.
100% life or death.
If people need to see the truth of it, not some weak looking, dumbed down situation.
But that's what they want. That's why they push these toxic fucking,
Of course.
sites on TikTok and YouTube because they want us dumbed down. They want us to be on all these drugs. They want to legalize all these drugs. So we fucking sit in our house and do nothing.
Yeah, I get it. Of course. Staring at TVs.
Do you believe? And I
phones.
know people are like, "Oh, you a conspiracy nut. You will own nothing and be happy."
Yo, paint your roof blue, bro. Paint your roof blue.
Yeah, dude, the shit's no joke.
Nah, everything's coming true, man.
Yep. We are in, shit I talked about 3 years ago with people are finally,
Right.
they're finally like, wow, JJ, you were right. You were right. Some of them don't want it. They still just want to ignore the problem, I guess, until it's at their doorstep,
Yeah.
Of
course. And some people will deny till the very last minute.
and then
I
make
tr-
an excuse
Dude,
for it.
I try to stay away from political shit on my videos because I know it's gonna fucking scare away the audience that needs me the most.
I know.
So I just shut my fucking trap. And if I see a video I like, I won't even like it on TikTok. So somebody be like, "Oh shit, he likes this part."
See, that's
Bro,
that's
I'm
where
just trying to fucking help people. You know what I
Right.
mean?
No, you're supposed to be more worried about the next rapper or what's her name? the Super Bowl shit.
Oh,
Taylor Swift is way
yeah.
more important than a whole bunch of kids getting on drugs.
They fucking ruined football for me.
Yeah,
Ah,
All of them.
same here, man. And you were talking to somebody who was the most diehard Packer fan you could ever imagine. I still am, but I think it's staged.
Listen, I don't even know who the quarterback for the Eagles are these days because I stay away from it.
Dude, you Eagles
Jalen
fans,
Hurts.
man, are pretty
Vicious.
hardcore.
Fucking vicious, bro.
Yeah.
You guys boo
That's
your
true.
own team if they're not doing good enough.
Listen, I remember going to a game. One of my mom's boyfriends at the time had season tickets for the Eagles. I was young. I don't remember. I'm not good with dates, ages, and all that shit. But I was young and it was snowing. And I remember they brought fucking Santa Claus out and they booed Santa Claus and threw bottles at him. And that's why they took away glass bottles from the stadium.
Jeez.
Isn't Philly supposed to be the city of brotherly love?
Fuck out.
Obviously, they don't like Santa. That's crazy.
No.
I actually, the head coach for I don't know how many years. I just can't think of his
Andy
name.
Reid?
Right. Yes, both his kids had addiction problems, and his
I got high
son.
with the one.
You did?
Yep. We were at a place called Valley Forge Recovery Center, Valley Forge Rehab. He was in there. And I don't know if he had them or who had them, but somebody had pills in there. And, we shared.
No, I believe it 100%, man, because one of his kids overdosed and died.
Yep.
And that's
Yes,
why,
he
do you
did.
remember when Michael Vick did all that dog-fighting stuff? And then he went to federal.
All his kids were in Conshohocken, PA, right outside of Philadelphia. That's where they were ripping and running and getting high.
Yeah. That's why Andy Reid is so forgiving. Like,
Right.
you remember when, Michael Vick did that dogfighting
Yeah.
thing, and then he went to federal prison for 2 years, I think. None in the NFL wanted to give him a chance, obviously. But Andy Reid
Mhm.
was the only one who did because his kids had been to prison. His kids had, been through addiction.
Yeah,
Listen,
I remember
if
that.
you're judging somebody for the shit they did in their past and you see them trying to change themselves and you still won't accept it, fuck you. You know what I
Right.
mean? They don't need to prove anything to you. But if you're
Exactly.
trying to change your life around, I see you and I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
Right. So that's great. How does helping kids, keep you staying clean and focused?
Man, helping other people that are in their addiction definitely helps me stay clean and focused because it's the pain that you see that they're going through makes you realize this life is not for you.
Right.
I want to help anybody in addiction, but I feel like my focus is better put into these teens and, younger adults because most of the time adults are set in their way. I'm hoping with the kids, you can try to push them in the right direction, even if they don't have the mindset. But most of the time, the adults, if they don't want to get clean, they're not going to get clean.
Right. And you notice that when you're working in recovery, it helps you stay more focused on your own sobriety. Because I know for me, like being in class now, the class, school, and different things, doing this, it really pushes you to be more focused and stable in your own sobriety.
Man, truthfully, I went through hell. I put myself through hell, and all this shit I've been through is what really helps me stay in recovery. Because I know myself. I go fucking full throttle. If I go back to using, I'm going to either die, hurt somebody enough to get me in jail for the rest of my life. And on top of that is that life is miserable.
It is.
Okay?
That's an understatement, man. That's a total
Yeah.
understatement.
That's one of the biggest things with being a part of recovery is it's a constant reminder what substance abuse, where that road takes you.
Yep, it always leads to the same. And people that are early in their addiction, they might not even think they're addicted, but you keep fucking around with that, it's going to lead right up to the same road that we've been down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not for damn sure.
And everybody has some risk for addiction, whether they want to believe it or not. We all do. It's just we all have different risks for it.
And listen, if you're in your addiction, you're probably having the same thought. I'm not as bad as that person.
Yeah.
You're going to fucking be as bad very soon.
The justification.
Yep. Absolutely.
Why the guy taking a pill isn't as bad as the meth head. It's
Or
It's always, you know.
you use needles? Get that shit out of here.
Yeah, I snort. I don't
Yep.
shoot up, you know.
Yeah,
like-
I'm way better than you. Yeah. But
I'm a high class junkie.
Yeah, I'm a junkie with morals.
Yep.
Will you share a little bit more about your work with kids and what you're seeing with kids and substance abuse in 2024, like right now, or the younger kids? Like, what are you seeing?
Most of the kids that are coming through, well, the youngest I saw was a 12-year-old hooked on fentanyl. He's ordering it off Snapchat. But for the
Wow.
most time, it's the kids that I'm working with that are 15, 16, 14 that are getting hooked on this fentanyl. And I know a lot of people say conspiracy theory that they're putting it in the weed. No, that's bullshit. It's not a conspiracy theory. It is happening with these kids that are ordering the weed off of the internet.
Right.
And just a real quick, my view on cannabis and marijuana is I believe cannabis is a lot better than people being on Xanax and Klonopins. If
I
you can
agree.
use cannabis in the right way, it can be, a miracle
100%.
plant for you.
Yep. It really can.
But these
for the
kids that are
wrong way,
ordering
though,
this
is-
stuff off these internets, they're getting it. Some of them are getting it off the streets. They're putting the fentanyl in it because in the person that's selling its mind is like, all right, I'm going to get these motherfuckers addicted to my product so they keep coming back.
Right.
And that's why they're putting it in there. They might be putting it in little by little, but any amount of fentanyl will kill you.
Yeah. Right. I actually
Our
had
fentanyl.
I had a 14-year-old on the podcast, and he was talking about how one of the kids will get a supply of it, and then they'll put it on social media, and then any kids that hit them up, they will sell it to those kids. But they
Yep.
do
Say
it
that
with
again?
somebody.
Say that again.
Like, one kid will get a supply of pills or whatever, and then they put it out on social media to the rest of the high school. But it's somebody under 18 so that they have access to all the other kids.
Jesus.
And I hear the same story every day in the facility with these kids. It's their dad's not in their life. They don't have much going. Their moms are partying or more worried about making videos.
Right.
Parents has got to put the effort into their kid,
Yeah.
or it's going to be the same cycle over and over again.
Mom's in the back room making OnlyFans while the kid's in the bedroom smoking up, doing whatever he wants.
We really do live in a fucked society today, man. It's just a lot of generations. Me and Dave we're millennials. I think you're a millennial too. You just said you're not even 40.
Yeah, he's right around
Nope.
us, our age.
Yeah.
85.
85. Okay.
Yeah. I'm 87, you're 88.
Yep. I think it's just absolutely crazy that people don't want to talk about, or people are so quick to always bash the last generation or whatever. I don't think this Gen Z had a fucking chance.
Yeah.
Nope. And nobody's trying to do anything about it.
Right.
I wish these influencers would talk about this shit. Imagine if we were all really together. Imagine if we all really were we the people. Shit would be totally different.
For sure it would. Are you noticing any concerning patterns with the kid, or or are the kids just, any type of kids that are coming through?
I mean, it's definitely a pattern. I feel like the internet has completely ruined these kids.
Oh God, yeah. I could not agree more.
It's always the mental health. It's always they get depressed or they're suicidal or the main pattern that we see when the kids come in is they slowly stop taking care of themselves. Then they slowly stop wanting to go to school. Then
Well, they're not
slowly
even
start
in
seeing
school with.
Do they still do the DARE program in schools?
No,
I haven't heard shit about
that
that.
shit
in a very
ended
long
when
time.
me and Dave were in school.
No, I actually asked him, that kid, about it. He said, no, they don't really bring it up. There's no programs, not much at all. And he's going into freshman year now. And he hasn't had
That's
any
another thing.
anti-drug talks yet.
That dare was a fucking joke, honestly. I mean,
I just think it
At
was
least
too
it was
early.
something.
Like, you're doing it in 5th and 6th grade. You need to be doing it around, like, the middle of 8th grade or, like, middle of 7th grade.
these scared straight programs need to be mandatory, I think. Like, they need to see the fucking outcome of what happens once you're hooked.
Right.
That's the problem is like I see in recovery videos online and shit is all these people that are bigger accounts that are in recovery and sober. It's all fucking horseshoes and butterflies that they're posting.
Yeah.
These kids need to see the real shit, the real pain that's going to come with addiction.
That's why when I found you on TikTok, I was like, dude, this guy is not like your everyday. We keep it real on here, you know?
Yeah.
Like it there is not a day that I wish upon anybody what I've been through. Not even my own worst enemy deserves what I've been through,
Right.
in my opinion.
So, do you have any ongoing health issues or struggles that linger since your addiction? I know it was a lot of years ago, but I mean, for me, from mine ended in 2015, and I still struggle with things.
Man, I've been blessed. You know, I know a lot of people that I were getting high with got hepatitis, AIDS, all types of shit.
Ooh, damn.
The only problem I have is my brain, my memory, and that they say that's from the ecstasy, the holes in my brain, and all that shit. The gasoline I've huffed,
The
all the PCP
gasoline.
I've smoked.
So, have you done like an MRI or what would that be? Did you see like a scan?
I actually have to get one every couple of years just to update, you know, on the brain injuries. I do have seizures. They haven't really pinpoint why I get them, but I'm sure it's from the drug use or all the times I've been hit in the head by shit.
Right.
Hey, brother, lion's mane and vitamin B and fish oil has done wonders for me.
I keep hearing good things about lion's mane. I'm gonna look in.
It literally regrows the receptors that we've fried.
No shit. Okay.
I'm really, really, really big into natural, holistic supplements.
Yeah, I keep hearing great things about it, man.
Yeah, there's definitely some natural things.
Whenever you have time, downtime, watch. The guy is he's the world leading fungus mushroom expert in the whole world.
Paul Stamets.
Paul Stamets. Yep. Just look up Joe Rogan, Paul Stamets, or just Joe Rogan mushroom guy. It's one of Joe Rogan's biggest podcast videos ever.
Yeah. All right. Definitely will.
But for me, like I got the stomach erosion real bad because I just swallowed pills and it ate my stomach away because of how I would cook them. And then I also got post-acute withdrawal really bad, and am just at a point over this past year where I've been healing from the symptoms from post-acute withdrawal from way back in 2018. So it really can linger. Did you ever get any like post-acute withdrawal or any symptoms like that after you stopped?
Not really, man. I kind of went through, the last time when I was in recovery, I detoxed in a jail cell. I had to go through it. I did 6 months that time. And then when I got out, I continued my recovery. But I don't really remember or recall any of that.
That's lucky. Because, I mean, right now, JJ is going through it with the post-acute withdrawal, too. He's had it for 10 months now.
Yeah.
Now,
it seems
were
like
you guys
some
using
people,
fentanyl or something else?
I just used Oxycontin.
No, I used
The real?
well.
Yeah.
I can relate more to you, Red. There wasn't anything that I wouldn't use.
Yep.
But
Because
mainly
I keep
it
hearing
was
from these kids, and adults. Like I hear it from adults that went through withdrawal when it was only, maybe only heroin. But they're saying this fentanyl is a complete different withdrawal than it was when they were using the heroin.
Yeah, I never have done the fentanyl, but what I've noticed is people that do, there's something else in it that is.
It's a really, really heavy withdrawal, and it's so short acting too.
Yeah, it's like
Well,
almost
now
like
they're putting trank in it. Do you see these fucking videos
Yeah.
from Philly? These people are slumped over and
it's
shit.
resistant to
Yeah.
Narcan too, so people are dying even with the Narcan. It's absolutely. I think it's just a way. In my opinion,
They made it like that on purpose.
yes, they're trying to get rid of all of these addicts and everything. And I
Dude,
honestly,
it all started with crack in the 80s. I remember hearing stories from the older heads in Philly talking about crack just fucking flooded the streets one day.
Right.
One day it was cocaine, the next day there's this new thing called crack.
Me and
then
my
it goes
girl.
from crack. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, me and my girlfriend just actually watched a really interesting documentary about crack just 2 days ago. It was super interesting. It was all about exactly what you're saying.
If you look back, it goes from crack to the whole Oxycontin thing, then to meth, and now fentanyl.
Yeah.
Yep. That Purdue Pharma. Boy, they're
I'm in the middle of a small town in Kentucky, and it is fucking loaded with meth. You know what I mean? It
It's the
doesn't
same
make
with us here in small town Wisconsin. It's
everybody's on meth
everywhere.
here.
yeah, it's
Or
just
fentanyl, one of the
I don't
two.
know.
I feel like it's just one of those cheap drugs that a lot of people figure out how to make, and it just becomes prevalent.
And then they make shows like Breaking Bad, and then how many people do you think tried meth because of that show?
Probably a few.
The kids come in talking about that shit, talking about the rappers drinking lean and
Yeah.
all this shit.
Yep.
They look up to these fucking people as role models.
They're
And these people
disgusting.
don't have a
Nobody-
care
We've
in the
talked
world.
about that many times, man, and I'd like to. I'm glad you said that because it disgusts me.
Yeah. So, Steve, is there any advice that you have for kids or adults on how to stay away from substance or how to get help if they're already on it?
Listen, if you're on it and you need the help and you don't have insurance, I'm going to let you in a little secret. Go to the ER. You're going to have to tell them you're having thoughts, of hurting yourself, and they'll have to keep you. They'll have to find you help. They'll have to put you in somewhere and get the help that you need. The best advice I can give for, younger kids that are growing up and that are using addiction, take me as an example. Nothing good is going to come from your addiction. I know at the moment, and believe me, nobody loved getting high more than me. That was my thing. That was my twist. I wanted to do it the rest of my life. I wanted to figure out how I could shoot dope and be a productive member of society.
Right.
And I thought I could figure it out. But there's no way you can use these drugs if you can make it long enough to be an adult.
Right. I agree because I honestly was sort of that same way you were. I was able to like balance out my use to where I didn't run out very often and I was trying to maintain and live life like that, but you cannot. It catches up with you no matter how you do it eventually. That tolerance will go up.
Listen, and just so everybody understands, my worst day in recovery will never beat my best day getting high in addiction. People are constantly saying, "Oh, I'm in recovery. It's boring." Recovery is fucking beautiful. I can
Yeah.
finally enjoy myself.
Yep.
I can finally enjoy my days. I do things that I love to do now and not have to make sure I got them drugs or alcohol to have fun.
Yeah, one of the biggest, most difficult things with that is always chasing it. You're always stressed out. I gotta get it. I gotta meet this person. Then they make you wait. Doesn't go through. You're pissed off. Man, what a stressful way to get through your day.
And you stop getting high after a while.
Yeah.
It becomes a full-time job that you got to keep up.
Just
and then
to
if
be
you're hiding
normal.
that from your parents or your loved ones or friends, it's even fucking worse.
Yeah, I hid mine for not years, but almost. It was a little over a year that I hid mine before I was able to tell the person I was with. It was crazy.
Now, I thought I was hiding mine, but I'm fucking falling out in my cereal thinking nobody knows. Hey, I'm just tired. I'm okay.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of the times
And they'll
we
argue
think
with
we're
you,
hiding
too.
it, but people know. But they just don't want to say anything because they don't want to be that person.
Right. She
I
did
always
say
it.
that she thought something was up, but she just didn't have enough evidence. But then once it came out, it was like, okay, duh.
Look, you know the person you're with the best. Nobody else knows them better.
Right.
If you see something out of the ordinary, I guarantee you, listen, if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. You know what I mean? Look to it. Ask them questions,
Yeah.
ask them how they're doing, ask them if they're going through something, ask them if they want to talk. Do
Ask them
whatever
what
it takes.
2 times 6 is without them slurring.
Right.
2. And then no, I deal with it a lot, man. Where
Mhm.
I'm trying to sit there and help somebody, and then they're nodding out, arguing with me that they're not nodding out.
Right.
Or I'm not that bad. I'm okay.
You
No,
know,
the fuck you're not.
wake up. You know.
So with that, what's the best way you think we can support each other in recovery?
We got to be there for each other, man. We got to stop judging each other. Because I see it a lot in recovery. People will judge somebody for the choices they made, but they don't have no fucking clue the options they had at the time.
Right.
But they're still going to judge away. And I think a lot of that stems back to whatever I can do to make myself feel better, I'm going to fucking do. Yep.
Yeah. Have you read
Feel better
Matthew
about
Perry's
myself.
book, Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing?
Bro, I probably only read 2 books in my whole life.
I mean, Matthew Perry
what I
was
mean?
really big in
I grew
addiction,
up
though, and he
In
just
a big
died.
city school district, I probably got a 4th grade fucking reading level.
Well, if I can, I just want to suggest trying to read Matthew Perry's book if you can get a chance to. It's very valuable. for addiction.
I'll see if it's on audio.
For sure.
That's my cup of tea.
So I read it, and I haven't read a book that fast in a long time.
You got that East Coast. I met a lot of people from the East Coast, dude. And you're just
Hey,
like,
listen to this one. Water. That's how I say water.
well, no, it's so funny because you guys sound like when you're telling a story, it's almost like you're gonna rip someone's head off, but it's just like, no, it's not.
Dude,
It's
people
really
still,
cool.
especially in Kentucky, they're like, "Why is this dude getting angry with me?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm not."
It's awesome, man.
So, JJ, is there anything else you want to add today?
No, thank you so much, man. It was great to finally talk to you, Red.
No problem. And if anybody hears this that's struggling, just keep your head up. You got this. Whatever you're going through will pass. And if you're early in your recovery, all you got to do is not pick up and keep going in the direction you're going.
Yep. We have to remember addiction can happen to anybody. It is a disease, and it can, whether we want to believe it, we all of us have some biological risk for addiction. So you can't, if you think you don't, you do. So we have to kill the stigmas, like you said, and start healing and working with each other and working together to get to a better, more positive tomorrow.
I love how you said that. That was my first tattoo. Is this too shall pass?
Yeah,
because it
Yeah,
always
'cause sometimes
will.
we'll feel like it's not gonna, or we feel like we'll never get through this situation.
right.
But that ain't true. You'll get through it. Things will get better.
One of the biggest things I tried, it's hard for people, but if you can understand eventually, life gets a lot easier. Once I really was able to grasp that eventually thing, I get through stuff easier than I used to because I know no matter what, it's going to come. Eventually, always comes.
One more thing too is you got to deal with what you put yourself through in addiction, what you did to other people, and you got to let go. You cannot
Right.
hold on, because the piece of shit I was back in my addiction ain't who I am. I've done some really terrible things, and I'm not saying I'm okay with it, but you got to kind of let go, because if not, you're going to live in your past and your future is going to completely blow by.
Right. That's great. Great way to finish it. JJ, thank you for being here today.
Always.
Steve, thank you for calling in today.
No problem. Thanks for
And
having me.
once again, tell people your TikTok account and everything, and YouTube account.
YouTube, it's at Reds Reality. And TikTok, the same thing, Reds Reality.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Stay safe and make good choices for yourself and those around you.
Do your research.
We're out.